A very good morning to you. I am Hilda Wadidi, and of course, this is the Youth and Politics. You are watching Y254 TV, and it's about that time we discuss the state of affairs both in our country and across our borders, but especially here in Nairobi, the city, the heart of Kenya. And if you want to participate in the conversation, do slide into our DM. Start with YM254. The number is 22162. And with me in studio today, I have the MP of Kathiani. He goes by the name of Robert. Boy, say good morning.
Morning, viewers.
Yes. And it's about that time we discuss some of the issues that are arising, especially in the world of politics. And we have this NYS scandal. I think I'd like to start with that one. We are having the CS and some principal secretaries and some officials being told to step aside so that they can give the Criminal Investigations Department an opportunity to carry out the investigations. So I'm asking Robert, do you think that this stepping aside could be dangerous? In terms of, because the politicians who are arguing that when you give these people who are suspects time to leave office, then they go and bribe judges. So, and then they end up being acquitted. So we'd like to hear your opinion on that.
Well, Hilda, thank you for having me here. Let me say that from the onset, when you look at Kenyan criminal justice system, people that are caught with very minor criminal offenses, stealing a chicken or somebody's mobile phone, somebody will be thrown in very quickly for 7 years, 14 years. You know, it's very easy to send such people to jail. But the person that has stolen a billion would be walking free. And so, you know, clearly when you look at that, it means that most likely there is either someone wants that money to still continue being spent and they allow the person to be around, or the people that have these huge sums of money can probably buy their way into freedom. So it's a very strange thing. But my opinion really is that what I can clearly say is that there is a lot of interference by politicians when it comes to issues to do with corruption. Because, you know, NYS, this is not the first time. We had the same incidents about 2 years ago. In fact, it was a huge scandal. The president himself pronounced himself on it, and a number of people stepped aside. The PS stepped aside, the CS stepped aside, you know, the Director General stepped aside. Now, from that time, if you look at the scenario, when the CS was accused and was sent to National Assembly, I was in Parliament then, and when she came to the National Assembly, we couldn't even question her, because the members of Parliament from the side of the government, that was Jubilee, were completely hostile towards any questions to the CS. And soon after that, when it became necessary for her to answer, and she was forced to answer, and she mentioned some people. One who was the Deputy President's personal assistant, another one was our leader of Majority Party, the other one is the current leader of the Senate Majority Party. You know, when those people are named, the DP himself came strongly in their defense and started accusing her of catwalking and all sorts of things. So at the end of the day, you notice that this is a serious issue. Money has been stolen. The money for the youth. But politicians will play all sorts of games, and people will get away with it. Now, look at it this way. Today, as we talk, those people that were named are all holding office.
So
one is now...
That's what I was actually going to ask. Do you think it was an oversight on the part of the government to still have the same team that was responsible for the previous scandal still remain in office? No,
well, the DG left. He was actually taken to court. The PS then... What happened is that NYS was moved from the Ministry of then devolution to public service. But generally the whole setup and the whole system that was used to steal money then is still in place, because they're still using shadowy farms, you know, that don't exist, and a lot of supplies that are requested for that don't get delivered, and then they manipulate the IFMI system, and then money gets to lose, you know, money ends up in people's hands. I read that this money now, by the time it is hitting the banks, they are already communicating with the bank managers and asking that they make sure they have money in foreign currency. So, you know, if you are carrying $1 million, it is not bulky. If you're carrying 1 million shillings, it's more bulky. So they are actually carrying this money out of their banks now in cash, but in foreign currency, because it's a lot of money. It's a huge scandal. It's an embarrassment to the nation.
Okay, this is the thing though. Supposing that fine, they do get people and some people are arrested, how will we recover the 9 billion?
Well, I don't know, but I think maybe what we need to do is this country needs to put in our judicial system needs to do something drastic with some of these offenders, so that we discourage that from continuing. Maybe we may not recover the money if because I mean, once somebody has stolen the money, maybe invested it abroad, you can get it back. But deal with them so that we do not have any future thefts of that nature.
Why is this ministry so notorious for theft?
Actually, I think let me tell you, about 6 years ago, NYS total budget was about 2.5 billion, and within one financial year it went up 1,000-fold to 25 billion. So suddenly, I mean, you look at that, you can see the increase in the money that is available for use in NYS has gone up too fast, maybe more faster than the requirement for them to do the activities they required. So I think it's like, in my opinion, it's like a cash cow. Yeah, and it's unfortunate that we are manipulating youth's money, and it is a place where money is being stolen. And the youth of this country have to now, they have to step out there and demand that real justice. In fact, not even now, from even the last scandal of 2016, they must insist on getting answers, because the youth form a bigger part of, they're the majority in the country. So if they keep quiet, then who's going to fight for them? We made noise in parliament, but we get ignored because of the numbers, the tyranny that you all know about.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. Just before we continue, we are going to take a small break. We'll be joined by one Samuel Cairo, who is from Wambogo and Muriuki Advocates. Do not touch that dial.
Very good. Good to meet you.
Good morning, good morning. We just took a short break from Youth and Politics, and we have been joined in studio by one young lawyer who goes by the name of Samuel Cairo from Wambogo and Muriuki Advocates. Say good morning.
Good morning, viewers.
Yes. Now, just before we took a break, we had discussed the NYS scandal. However, I think we've exhausted it. So we would like to ask the MP over here about his stance on the president has actually talked about the referendum. Because this thing has been ongoing for a while. People didn't know where Uhuru stands in terms of the calls for referendums. But on Friday, he spoke and he said that a referendum will distract him from his Big Four agenda. So basically, he's not for it. So we'd like to hear what NASA is going to do about it.
Well, I let me say, I won't speak on behalf of NASA, because I'm just one member of parliament in NASA, even though I'm the deputy minority leader. But the truth is that the handshake between the president and our leader, Raila Amolo Odinga, was basically to bring unity to the country. Unfortunately, after they shook hands, they didn't immediately involve their core principles, which would have been the deputy president, Gideon Moi, on the side of Jubilee, and then Kalonzo, Wetangula, Musalia on the side of NASA, so that they could move together. Because like Wetangula just recently said, if you want to move fast, you go alone. If you want to go far, you go with other people. So unfortunately, they went in together, shook hands, and whatever interpretation that was made out of the handshake from every side differed from the other. Some of us felt that this is an opportune moment for us to change the law, change the constitution, deal with issues to do with electoral fraud, deal with issues to do with the funding to the counties, deal with issues between the levels of governance, and even things like the roles of Senate versus National Assembly. So we thought there was an opportunity there. But of course, you see, there's a lot of people who also felt that it was going to isolate some people from leadership in the future, because they felt that maybe this is an opportunity for us to create more positions, and therefore the cake now will be cut into smaller pieces, and people wanted bigger chunks for themselves. So it became an issue, and that's why we are disappointed that the president has said we can do a referendum. I think it's a good thing. It's important. It will unify us more, but they have to talk together. All leaders need to get together and discuss this thing before they bring it to us. Not two people and then the rest of us are assumed to have agreed with what they said.
All right, what do you think, Samuel? Can you comment on it?
When it comes to referendum, I don't think it's a bad thing. The problem is, or the issues are, what are the proposals? Because I remember when President was giving State of the Union address, he talked about even if him and Raila Odinga are now on one side, like now they agree on moving the country together ahead, it doesn't mean they're going to be unanimous on every issue. So the issue of President saying that actually I'm not for this referendum is going to distract us from development, it's in the same spirit of what he said, that actually I cannot agree with Raila Odinga on every issue, but one thing we agree on, the country has to move on. So I think, yes, we have to wait and see how it goes, but I think one person who is very happy with this must be Ruto, because people from his side were saying that they want to see where the president stands on issue of referendum. Now they must be very happy, but I think that's let's see how it goes.
All right, that's just about it in terms of state of affairs. Let's go to the topic of the day, who is the governorship of Nairobi County, and that's one gentleman who goes by the name of Sonko. And we've seen a lot of drama transpire during this weekend, and there's been even calls by the deputy chair for Jubilee Party to impeach Governor Sonko. There's been Miguna's nomination to be the deputy governor. We'd like to understand what is happening. Let me start with you, Mheshimiwa.
First and foremost, I would like to say that it is very unfortunate, the circus around the leadership and the management of our city, because Nairobi County is really our capital city. This is the heart of the state. And it doesn't make any sense for us to be going through the governor telling us, oh, my life is in danger, a deputy party leader somewhere saying we are going to impeach the governor. Next thing we are hearing, the governor's security has been withdrawn, and that governor is nominating someone, people are fighting it. I think it's really ridiculous. I think in the long run, maybe not immediately, but in the long run, we may need to consider having this city managed under the national government.
It's actually a big debate now.
Yes, not having a governor who is elected, who feels that he can run the city. Because in the long run, not now, currently under Sonko's leadership, I think it needs to get his term. He needs to serve his term. The people of Nairobi had confidence in him. They gave him their votes, and Jubilee supported him. Now, I don't know what disagreements have come, and they're making it into such a big issue. Now, I listened to Sonko when he said that he's nominated Miguna on the basis of the fact that even the president himself shook hands with Raila, who was his worst critic. They fought very serious political battles.
Also, it was a cohesion move.
Yes, and you know what, Hilda, let me say this, that the heat in this country was so much that people lost a lot of property. I personally was one of those that were injured in the battle for liberation. That's what we thought we were doing, because we felt that we were oppressed by the Jubilee or whatever regime. I got my leg was broken. My colleague was also had his leg broken. A lot of people lost their lives. So I felt that when the president and Raila shook hands, that the country was healing. We're moving now. We're going to move forward. So in the same spirit, I think when Sonko said he can also shake hands with Miguna and they work together and finish the cartels in the city, I felt that it wasn't really wrong. But it's unfortunate that politics again rears its ugly head, and people are up in arms because Miguna is seen to be a critic. You know what he's going through. The people are saying he's not even Kenyan. So it's really a joke for me. I think we need to go beyond that.
Well, it seems that Jubilee Party has a bit of issues in terms of how they are handling their members, and there are people who have a different school of thought that don't believe that Sonko nominated Miguna because he wanted unity, but people are saying he's doing it as an act of rebellion against some strong elements inside the government. What do you think about that? Do you think he did it in rebellion also? somewhere.
I think one thing we have to agree on it's the issue that Nairobi is mismatched as we stand. Everything is disorganized. On the issue of appointment of Miguna as the deputy, I think I think Sonko went too far in either making that step, because I'm thinking this way. There's a person, he knows that he has differences with Jubilee party as we stand. Then he knows that Miguna, the way he has been operating, he's even now criticizing Raila himself. So there is he either, and I'm thinking, as you have said, most likely he did this as a sign of defying what Jubilee wants, actually. Saying that you people, I think you have been interfering with my leadership, so I want to show you what I can. Then he went ahead and now took the batch to their own home. So, but I think they need to come up with a way, because I've seen even the vice chairperson of Jubilee now saying, we thinking of impeaching governor. Those are things that are not supposed to be appearing anywhere, because he is a member of the party. Why not deal with it from the inside? These are things that they can resolve themselves. These are members of the same party, so we don't need to hear these stuff.
That is true. Okay, let's talk about Sonko's promises when he got into the county governorship. He formed this regeneration team for Nairobi, and which is led by actually the CS Najib Balala, and they were supposed to they gave themselves a lot of deadlines. They had 30 days to collect all the garbage. They had 90 days to put up 200,000 new homes under this Kenya mortgage refinance company to create affordable housing. They had this Nairobi Traffic Management Committee, the bus terminals, the rapid transit bus terminals, launch car-free days. And do you think he shot himself in the foot by putting all these deadlines? Okay,
let me say this. Every politician, when seeking office, particularly offices of governor or president, where one of your roles is basically to develop, there's always an attempt to excite the public with very good ideas, brilliant ideas. Jubilee told us we'd have free education, secondary and primary. I can tell you that I'm paying bursary for the children of the parents of Kadhiani. So it really didn't work out as it was expected to. But having said that, on the issue of Sonko, I think people need to understand, and the youth particularly, because he has a very huge youth following in the city. They need to understand the problems that he's going through. Some of these problems are not Sonko's own making. Sonko vied for the position of governor so that he could implement his own agenda, probably for the youth and the people of the city. And then the government under Jubilee also took him, actually I think he was held captive. Some of these ideas, and you can see you're mentioning CSs that are involved, some of those are not really his ideas. He may have had his own simpler ways of dealing with the problems of the city, having grown up in the city. But Sonko was somehow sidelined. In the formation of his own government, we are aware that a lot of the people that were appointed to run different dockets in the city were actually being appointed from State House. And that is his own accusation. He complained. And in fact, it reached a point where he was trying to create positions of assistance to his ministers, because he realized that there was a problem. He didn't have an ability to reward those of his people that stood with him. And you know that even the deputy governor who he was working with was not someone he picked himself. He was assisted by the party and told this one would work well with you. And at one time, Sonko was clearly told, you concentrate on politics and let your deputy run the city. Now, which governor in the world wants to do that? You get elected by the people, then you sit back and let someone else take over and run. It's like me, I'm elected as MP, then I'm absent and I let someone else run the constituency. That can't work, because the minute that happens, I'm undermined and have no influence and have no authority. So I think Sonko is really having issues because of the arrangement that they had from the beginning. Not to forget that even from the beginning, the onset, he wasn't the preferred candidate for Jubilee.
I was actually going to ask you, do you think it has anything to do with back then, during during the time of nominations, because there was this idea that the top Jubilee officials were pushing Peter Kenneth, and and Sonko happened to still manage to go through. And they're saying that his move also to nominate Miguna is him also being allied to the deputy president, because apparently Ruto helped Sonko get his nomination papers after the party primaries. So do you think it has anything to do with that?
Okay, Hilda, let's if we look at what's happening in Nairobi all through, that is 2022 politics playing out. There are forces, I thinking, in Jubilee that were allied to other sides rather than Sonko, that now fighting the whole thing against Sonko. The way I'm looking at it, because if you look at even how that Nairobi regeneration team was formed, how the deputy was picked, how they are now even managing how a person was seconded from the state house all the way to the county. Who does that? Actually, in another person, that's a county by itself, supposed to run at least some independence, even if it's supposed to cooperate with the national government. So there is a sense in which you can see that there's a way the state house, the national government, is interfering or trying to get too much in the county government. And in that case, you can see now the people who are against him and the people who may be lost in the Jubilee primaries are now trying to plot the whole thing against like the Ruto stuff of 2022. But in the real sense, I think Nairobi Generation Team, now going back to what you had asked before, is a good idea. The only problem is they are not very practical in terms of things they can achieve. And
the time span.
And time frame. Because you see, we are not looking for short-term solutions which are not well thought through. Think through things. If you're going to get rid of matatus from the city center, that's not something you can do in like 30 days. That is it has far-reaching effect on the people who come to Nairobi to work, the youth who are in the matatu industry, the businessmen who are invested in the matatu. It's a serious thing that you have to invest for like 6 months or 1 year. Think through what you're doing.
But you know, he said he will even resign if he's unable to.
Forget about that. That's politics. That's politics. Like that. So these things are saying, okay, 30 days, 100 days, you have done. Those things don't happen that way. Let them come with permanent problem. They have 5 years, not like 1 year or 6 months. Plan things out and execute properly. I think this country has a way of people coming up with good ideas. Do
you think when he did that, he kind of set the stage for people to come after him now? Because you see, now he promised us heaven and he's only been in office for less than 8 months. Do you think going forward he will be able to achieve anything? Judging from the atmosphere we are seeing right now, do you think going forward this will ease up and he'll be able to work?
You know, under the current situation, Hilda, we do work. You know, he's saying, I'm working from home, my life is in danger, I have no deputy governor, there is one to impeach me. I mean, there's no one in this world who can work under those conditions. In fact, what will happen, and that's why I'm saying this politics in Nairobi needs to stop. The city is going to just grind to a halt because the governor is unable to perform. His team cannot, of course, operate properly without some guidance from his office. And if somebody else is taking over and trying to guide them, then that's also illegal. So I think we need to get this thing resolved quickly. Let Sonko be given an opportunity to pick a deputy governor. Let the county assembly be given independence, because that's an independent legislative body. Let them look at the credentials of the people they are given, whether it is Miguna, because said if they fail Miguna, you give another name. Let him be given that authority, because that is really legally right now under the current laws. He is the only one who can give a name of a person who is going to be the deputy. Let him be given that opportunity. Let this thing end, so that we can now see whether he can perform, because of course the city needs work. There's a lot of work that needs to be done.
Well, there's also this debate going around, supposing Miguna was to be the deputy governor, how would this county be? What differences can we expect, or what can we expect from the national government in the event that was to happen? We'd like to know. We are all curious. I mean,
Hilda can tell you for free. Miguna and Sonko cannot work. Forget about even the other things about the Jubilee, the history of the law. Even if right now we say the Miguna is clear, let him become the deputy governor. That combination cannot work because their personalities are way very I don't know, the way they operate, they can't work very well. They're supposed to complement each other.
Yes.
The way Igade was, you could see that somehow they could have complemented each other. But at this case, looking at the way Miguna has been operating, then you add Sonko to that, there's nothing would happen, I can assure you. It will be drama all through.
So we can expect more policing.
That won't work.
What about you, Robert?
I think personally, I think they would work very well because these two, their personalities are very combative, and so what happens is that people are extremely combative. Don't go for each other. So they'll be going for the cartels and the rogue suppliers and the poor contractors. I think that the energy might be spent out there dealing with the things or the vices against the city. But of course, if at any one time they start going at each other, then of course the city will collapse. So maybe Wakili's fear, which is also genuine, is that maybe these two, if they decide to go at each other, nothing will happen in the city. It will be disastrous. But if they use the energies, each of them, to fight the problems in the city, it can work. They are very, very strong personalities, the two of them. None of them is scared of a brawl. Physical brawl, verbal brawl. Anytime you find Sonko or Miguna, they have their fists already clenched. So I guess maybe if we tried them, we might just get a better city out of the fear they'll put in those people who oppose the city.
All right. In light of the recent developments in regards to Sonko and the deputy governorship, we would like to understand, what do you think was the big story behind Polycarp Igade's resignation? Seeing that how things have unfolded going to until this particular point, do you think Polycarp Igade's resignation there's a story inside there that we need to know?
Wakili.
Let me say this. Looking at the way Polycarp resigned, one, Igade is not a politician, and I think the environment was too toxic for him. That's what I think. Because if you look at the way he resigned, people don't do that in politics in this country. People don't just wake up and resign from governorship or deputy governorship or from an MP position. And you can see actually the way he resigned, he is a corporate material. So he, for some reason, I actually think it was a genuine thing that he couldn't work, because look at the way now the issue is about Sonko and operation in the city. He couldn't work in that inefficiencies. He's used to this side where he comes and CEO says this is how things are going to work, things work out. Here he doesn't. Things in politics, things are convoluted. There are interests everywhere. This government, it is slower. It's bureaucracy everywhere. I think for some it was just genuine that he said he can't work in this environment. Let me go back to corporate.
What do you think, Mheshimiwa?
Yeah, I agree with him fully. I think really knowing Igade, he's and of course having operated in the corporate world, and not having made a decision to jump into murky politics. He was brought in because the idea was to have someone who's actually from the corporate world doing the backdoor work of managing the city, and then having a politician making the public pronouncements out there. But then the relationship didn't work well, because unfortunately the person in the back door or the back office, now the Igade, would be running the show. He would be making those decisions that are financial, that are to do with employment, that are to do with policy, and then the governor would just go out there and talk about it. And I think that's where the thing failed, because Igade would have done that, but Sonko would not let it happen, because Sonko would obviously want to be the one who comes up with the ideas. You don't want to be governor and then the deputy governor is the one who's calling meetings of the ministers and arranging things behind your back. So I think it was really not, it was doomed to fail from the beginning. In politics, and he was right when he said this, in politics, because he resigned because he's really not a politician. Even the deputy governor should be a politician that will go and bring votes from the region where they're coming from, so that he participates in the process of bringing votes together. But the whole process was just Sonko and Jubilee, and Igade was brought in as an expert. So he would have probably been better brought in as a part of a think tank to assist Sonko and his deputy to run the city, not to come in as a deputy himself.
All right, so it's about time we conclude this segment. But as a parting shot for you, Samuel, I'd like to hear, since you're a young lawyer, you missed the discussion about the NYS scandal. I'd like to hear what you think about that particular issue.
I think it's very unfortunate that this issue happened the first time when Waiguru was the minister then.
Yes.
We thought they had come up with ways of sealing the loopholes.
Yes.
Now it has happened now in a bigger scale. I think they should rethink the whole project. I think it's a good idea, but it's being mismanaged, and actually people have taken advantage of the fact that there is so much that's being allocated to NYS.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's doing what it was supposed to be doing. Like its objective is not being met.
Yeah.
So in the real sense, it shouldn't even be there. That
So
whole
we
thing.
should even just do away with
that,
this.
because it's actually a way of people making money.
Yeah.
And engaging in corruption.
Actually,
so.
Mheshimiwa actually said that. He
Yeah,
said
it's not to not be there.
all right, sawa sawa basi. Anyway, any parting shots? It's about time we conclude. Yes, you have been watching Youth and Politics. Do not touch that dial. Do participate in the conversation. Start with YM254. The number is 22162. On Twitter, we're at Y254 channel. Hashtag YintheMorning. On Facebook, we're at Y254. And on Instagram, we're at YintheMorning TV show. Anyway, Hashmiwa, I'd allow you guys to say goodbye. Yes. Parting shots.
Yes, I thanks for this opportunity, by the way, to share about the whole thing about Nairobi. We actually wish that the things were done differently in Nairobi, but as we stand, things are the way they are. So we hope there will be better things to come.
A better future.
A better future.
Okay.
Yeah, this being a youth channel, I'd like to say that we need more youth to get involved in first in governance. We should be looking at a future youth governor, Nairobi or other places. Parliament, I know we have quite a number of them. And let these youth members, elected members, and even the youth that are not elected, come up in arms seriously to fight this vice of corruption, particularly now when it is directed at a docket which actually belongs to the youth.
Yes. All right, sawa sawa basi. You have been watching Youth and Politics, and I am Hilda Wadidi. Do stand by for Valentine with Man Crush Monday.